Right, right. No, that's a great transition to the next topic. What is it gonna, what is it gonna take? What do retailers have to do to get? Obviously, the consumer's got to feel comfortable. There's a lot of macro things going on, stimulus, employment, et cetera. But all else being equal, what is it going to take from the retailers to make consumers comfortable, ready to come back to start shopping again? We've touched upon a bunch of different things. Chris, along your lines with innovation, contactless, online shopping, curbside pickup. Talked about Instacart. Is it all that? Chris, we'll hand it to you, or is it certain factors in your opinion that really are required?
I mean, I think there's probably three factors. I think the working definition of necessity needs to be expanded a little bit beyond just kind of grocery everyday items and maybe some pharmaceuticals. I mean, it's gotta expand a little bit as to
Sure.
what defines necessity.
Right.
I think that the second would be confidence. I mean, confidence needs to be expanded. Like, you just gotta, I don't care what the SKU is. You gotta have confidence that you're not going to put your family in harm's way to get it, right?
Mm-hmm. So
Um,
is it a safety thing?
yeah, I think.
Health. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I think for things like movie theaters and others, there's like you may want to go see the movie. I mean, I love James Bond, and I'm hoping that thing gets released, and I certainly would prefer to watch James Bond on the big screen.
Yeah. Me too.
But that's not going to get me over the hurdle of, is that the smartest move for me and my family.
Right.
So I think that confidence needs to expand, and not just expand through desire and aspiration, but through kind of concrete, actionable milestones that we can point to, and public health experts can point to. And I think the third one is, I think the ingenuity factor needs to expand, both in the
Yeah.
way in which, retailers merchandise themselves, or
Yeah.
architect commercial experiences, but also, to Dan's point, kind of expanding the width of the category a little bit more, so that you can get into adjacencies that the consumer needs and cares about. And if you're not willing to do that, it's going to be hard. We've spent a lot of time thinking about how, you move from kind of events to experiences, and Airbnb obviously is doing this, to their level best, and in many instances doing it quite well, it seems. But you got to like flip a switch mentally and sit back and say, what does it mean to live underneath a brand, but to begin to change the dichotomy of the brand. One of my best examples pre-COVID was, I thought Netflix. Netflix, for a period of time defined itself as shipping a physical product by FedEx overnight.
The
And
CD, the DVD in the mail. Right.
right, and it being delivered to you. Now they ship it. I think they went from the world's largest customer of Federal Express to the world's largest consumer of broadband in a period of 12 months. And, it didn't fundamentally change what Netflix, is, but
Mm-hmm.
it fundamentally changed how Netflix came to you. Fundamentally, not on the margins, and fundamentally. And so, and I think it did it for the better. And so I think that, that those three things and some kind of coordination are prerequisites to making this happen.
Yeah, I think that, that goes back to your comment about ingenuity. Just as a plug, something we've talked about. I know Visa has been pushing, contactless, and, being able to tap your credit card for payment so that you don't have to touch anything. It's prevalent everywhere else around the world, but for some reason here in the U.S. it's slower to adapt, and maybe this situation will push that evolution a bit faster, for the safety reason that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Dan, what's your perspective? What do you think consumers need to get back out there and spend again, and maybe buy a shirt or a pair of socks?
I think it's going to depend a lot on what happens with this back to school season, with a lot of colleges reopening and then having to shut down again. It's not a good sign, but we'll see, what happens. I think that once, a big shopping season is back to school, but if your kids aren't going back to school physically, they're probably not going to need new sneakers, right? Probably not going to need a new backpack, probably not going to need a new, new clothing. I think that, to the extent that some of these reopenings are successful, that's going to have a great positive impact, right? Kids are going to actually see each other at school and see what they're wearing. And then they're going to want to buy new clothes too, right? It's not just before back to school, but it's, a lot of the times, you want to buy new clothes. It's when you see someone else wearing something you like, or you feel like you need to up your wardrobe, right? You up your wardrobe game, because there's a lot of kind of peer influence on that. And if you're not seeing people out in the world, you're not likely to feel that that influence. I think that's going to be probably a bigger factor even than I see a question there about the upcoming election. I think that the what happens with reopening and a lot of it has to do with, I think, schools, because that's kind of the first test case, right? Because a lot of companies aren't opening their offices yet. It's more about the schools. And so that'll be interesting. I'm cautiously optimistic. My kids are going back 2 days a week. Cautiously optimistic that has a positive impact on commerce, and especially in some of the really hard hit categories like shopping. And I think it will also affect the travel sector in that if people aren't going back to school physically, they're more likely to take fall vacations. So that could actually be a good side effect of staying at home. Yeah. So an example is, my wife's being opportunistic when booking a house in Martha's Vineyard in September when the rates go down, because, we can do that because my kids are only in school 2 days a week. Right. So we might actually see an uptick in some travel if more schools happening virtually. Right. Because you're not wedded to home. You can dial in for work. But that doesn't help the clothing, the physical shopping sector as much. I think that all will depend on people feeling safe going into stores again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll be able to track that on our travel trends tracker. We'll see if your prediction is right.
That's right. Yeah, the data will tell us.
Yes, the data will tell us.